Hello, this is the Drawing Craft. Anyways, so in my last video I did a video on knots with twist ties, and now I'm kind of doing a series where I'm kind of adding on to the amount of knots I have. So anyways, if you would like to go see the part 1, I guess, or just the knots video, be sure to go check it out. Well, anyways, now we're going to be going to some new knots, just sort of add-ons. So if you remember from one of the previous ones, we would do a pattern like this, where we would take 3 of them and take 2 surrounding them, kinda. Well, in this case, instead of doing that, we're doing a modification where we do this. And you'll see how that works, or how that'll change things in a moment. So it's exactly what I'm doing right now, just take 2. And what you want to do is you want to take the first one, this one, and roll it over. I know it may be hard to see, you may just need to back skip. Same thing here. I'm sorry if you hear any background noise in advance. And that's one pattern, so now you do the same thing. That's 2, and you keep repeating. Now I know right now it doesn't look like anything, at least now, but for the back of it will have a face, a pattern, and that's what happens to some of them. So that's this knot, and if you look on the back, you get this pattern. It's a little different than the other one from before, where the 2 ones were surrounding. In this case, it's a similar thing where the 2 twist ties are surrounding it, except this time they're both on the same side surrounding it, kinda. It's hard to explain, but just know for now, like the one that I showed in the other video and this one, they're 2 different but similar in that they surround the thing, the central core. So that's the first one. And the next one is going to involve a variation of this. So it's the same pattern as before, but a little bit different. Once I'll show you the next steps after. So same concept where you do that, you wrap it over, and then you wrap under. And similar to one of the other knots from before, now we either do this line or this one. And for now, we're going to do this one. Just need a moment, sorry. So we'll be doing this one. You notice now it's similar to the ones I mentioned in the other into the other video, where you add another step onto the other lines. And now you wrap this one. Like that. And you keep repeating that. And you're noticing it's forming a face similar to the other one but a little different. Actually, now that we begin to think about it, one of the first knots we made, actually, it's forming a sort of zigzag pattern up. Kind of like the first one, but it's a little bit different. Some of the patterns you'll notice as you make them will appear in one another. They'll appear, but they'll be rearranged differently, depending on the order of how you twist the lines. It's quite interesting. It's almost like a... Did I mess that up? I think I might have messed it up. I might have been going on a little... No, I didn't mess up. Yeah, I just need to do... I like to think of it like a paper airplane. You know, when you have a piece of paper, it's not folded and anything, it's just plain, but you know, once you twist it, you get something quite interesting. You notice this one has a different face than the other. It's a variation of it, but it still has, if you notice in the pattern, it has that zigzag. It goes, you know, down, up, same thing, except now there's more of a curve to it. And if you flip the faces over, you'll notice in this one there's a better distinction because of that turn. And you also notice with the lining, there's less material on this one than this one, because all of this on here, for example, like was used on the curves. Now it's interesting to think about and to imagine when you're making these, because in my opinion, I find it fascinating. So that was this one. Now we're going to move on to the other variation of this one, or this. Similar thing, but so again, like before, sorry, I'll show you. Now, instead of doing the one to the left over here, we're going to actually do the one to the right, and you'll see that it creates a different variation. And now, you notice from before, you know, this one, now it's going to create a different face on here. And since we already rolled this one, we go to this one. And repeat the face. I actually have not tested how strong these knots are. I would assume because they're made of paper and plastic and metal as well, especially the metal and plastic part, I would assume they're quite strong actually. In fact, I think if you made a shirt out of it, it would probably be the most strong shirt you'd ever have. Maybe not the most comfortable shirt, but could work. And that is where this one ends. You notice the face now is a lot different than this one. It has a, how should I say, a more wide pattern, or more of a distinct one from this one. Still carries over some aspects. It's still a little different. Much more different than this one. When you compare it to this one, the only difference between these two is that one we started on the left and the other we started on the right. It's the only difference between them. It's interesting. And the last knot for now, I think, is going to be it's going to involve two, actually four, instead of three like all the other ones. And if you know from the other video where I did a knot similar to this, you'll see what I mean in a moment. So you bring out a similar formation as beforehand. So you tie. Hold on, I'll push some of this back. So you push this up like before, push this one down, or tie it down. Now, similar to the other ones before, now we're going to do both left and right. You want to make sure though that, like, obviously the ones where you tie, for example, this is on the outer, this is the in. Just make sure you know which ones go. So now you're doing both. So that one goes here. Let me check. Yeah, this one goes out. Creates a new sort of, I don't know if you want to call it diamond shape, but it creates a new face now. Merge these two in, make sure it wraps, and do the same thing. It's almost like a diamond pattern as mentioned. And then the ones with that unite sort of that have two cores kind of, or two twist tie cores, the interesting thing is they both kind of unite or merge some of the other face aspects. Maybe not directly, but in some aspects they do a little bit. But you notice on this one it gets a bit shorter, this one over here, and that's a side effect of one of the twist ties having to overstretch a little more to get where they need to go. It's not exactly perfect on the end, but so now you notice this pattern. This one I think actually has a little slightly more similar features like this face over here to this one. Kind of. They both have a zigzag pattern, but other than that, as for this one, and compared to the other one, I feel like it kind of, I don't know, sometimes merges some of the aspects when you use two cores or two twist ties. Well, anyways, that'll wrap up this video for now. Bye YouTube, I'm the Drawing Craft.